If it doesn't have a Whittle Wadder on it, I'm not reviewing it. Oh, good. Welcome back to the Skilled Builders Guild. Thanks again for watching. Today we're taking a first look, run, and review of the new FMS FCX10 Land Cruiser 80 Series Edition. And here it is on the bench. I am impressed with some of these things. Others not so much. But in my opinion, this is what FMS should have put out first, rather than the Blazer with all those extra complications. This is where they should have started. Straight axle, 2-speed only, trail truck. That's it. Nothing else. Very nicely detailed body, pretty decent looking chassis, but very simple. And I like simple. I know that there is a whole group of you who hate me for that, who really appreciate unlocking and locking differentials, 2-speed transmissions, portal axles, dig units. All of those things all in one package for me is just too much and too many failure points, especially on a trail truck. I don't really feel like you need all of those things, but I understand if you like those things. We are allowed to have differing opinions. This is my review. If you want to do a review of your truck, you should definitely do it. I love all of your comments, whether they be in agreement or not. It doesn't matter. The fact that we can have a dialogue and have this discussion and have differing opinions makes us great. Anyway, back to the actual review of the truck. I feel like FMS wanted to put out a lower cost, simplified version, much like Traxxas did with the TRX4 Sport. This is FMS's attempt at that, and they've managed to keep it pretty full-featured despite taking a lot of features away. And I'll get through that as we get through this entire review. But let's start with what we see on the outside. A very nice Land Cruiser 80 series body. This is a licensed body, as it says so on the box. And you can tell that they were working from proper dimensions of a Land Cruiser 80 series. This looks great. It is a Lexan body, but I think they've done us a very good service with all of the added plastic detail features. Let's go through some of those now. Starting with the Whittle Wadder on the back. It is quite nicely molded, and I think it actually could swivel. No, maybe it's just molded to look like it can. A very nice molded plastic bumper. This does have a hitch, so I assume you could add some sort of ball and trailer thing. Maybe they're going to offer a trailer for this, who knows. We've got a huge roof rack up here, which is very nicely detailed as well. It's kind of a thinner plastic, but it does the job for sure and will hold up if you manage to roll this over. We've got molded door handles, molded side mirrors. We've got a functioning set of light pods up top here. We've also got a snorkel, wipers, molded front bumper, plastic grille, and nice plastic outer fenders as well. There is inner fenders, and we'll get to the interior stuff in a second here. There is also a nicely detailed Lexan molded interior with a molded driver in place and a molded head. That's a plastic molded head of a man in there. That's looking pretty good. These wheels also look like they fit within that Toyota license as well. This is very reminiscent of the 5-spoke that came on these Land Cruiser 80 series. So it's nice to see that as well. This is not a licensed tire. It's an FMS Super Marsher. I wonder where they came up with that name. Yes, full light kit as well. It does include turn signals. But I've already disconnected those because I am not going to be driving this truck with those turn signals running. It was very easy, thankfully, because they are using one of the magnet-based mounting systems for all the lights. So it's quite easy to just pull a couple of those connectors from the light receiver, and then you don't need to worry about that, and you still get headlights and the light bar. All of those are operable from the included radio. This is a 6-channel radio. It's only using 3 of those channels right now. Or is it using 4? 2-speed, servo, ESC, lights. 4 channels. So you have 2 extra channels if you want to play around with that. It's very easy to switch from high speed to low speed. That's on channel 4. And if you want to turn the lights on and off, that's on channel 5 on the pot there. So you just off, on. Nothing in between. There is no reverse light per se. You do get brakes, but because this is in crawler mode, it's just instant on. So there is no real brake. They're kind of using that rear tail light as a reverse. As you can hear, pretty smooth, quiet transmission. So pretty nice action on that for sure. One other thing to mention on the body, it does come with these Toyota stickers on the side of the truck, like that there. I just didn't like them. I thought it was kind of tacky, so I took them off. I know it's a Toyota. You don't need to shout it at me. Decent looking interior though. I love that there's a molded steering wheel and the head of the man is molded in the box. You also get a little cap for him, a little hat to go with that man. You know what, that might look okay. A little piece of foam back tape to mount that hat to that head, because it's obviously not going to stick on there. On first glance, it is a really nice looking truck. I do very much appreciate Land Cruiser styling, especially of this era. But let's take a look at some of the mechanics of this truck. The first thing we should talk about is the fact that these are not portal axles. This is a straight axle version of this truck. So you are reducing your overall ground clearance, but that's fine. This is a scaled trail truck. I don't think you need portals, especially on a big old heavy body like this. And we should talk about that. It's big. This is a big truck. Let's see, what's the wheelbase? It's still a 12.3 inch wheelbase, but this body is so big. I feel like it's like 1/8, maybe 1/8.5 scale, because it's large. Let's try to see how can we show scale here. Here is a Vanquish VS410 Fordyce, and you can see how much bigger. Wow, you can see how much bigger this truck is. Let's try to line them up. There we go. She's not small, but yeah, I think the scale of it actually works quite well. Where it's going to be weird is if you take it out with people who don't have one of them, and then you've got just like one big giant SUV. So that would definitely be something to keep in mind. It's going to scale up a little bit larger than what you might be used to. I still think it looks great though. Let's take the body off, and here's where they've made an excellent change. Because if we all recall from the original FCX10, it was quite difficult to get the body on and off in some, quick, repeatable fashion. They've changed this entire design to a much more robust and much easier system to get the body on and off. There are these two tabs right up front and in the rear. You can turn these either direction. They release two sets of clips, and the body comes right off. Man, that body's popping off quite easily. That's so much easier. I really like that. As you can see here on the body, these are the clips that hold the body in place. They are very big, very strong, quite beefy, and they do an excellent job of keying into these clips. Let's see if we can get a better angle of that here. There we go. This right here, that whole system is what holds the body on, and it works really, really well. It does have all these spring-loaded pegs as well, so you can get a better idea of where the body needs to sit and clip right in place. And it's a very strong clip-based system. One other thing to note on the inside of the body is what a good job they did of wrapping and organizing all the wiring for the lights. These are the magnets that connect to the magnets on the chassis to allow power to flow to those LEDs without having to have a hard connection all the time. Really great system, really nice to see that. And this is a nice, strong, rigid body. The Lexan interior is just taped into place with some foam back tape, but it's going to be in there pretty well, I'd say. Nicely detailed and really good looking body. I wish they offered it in more than one color though. That would be nice to see as well. Okay, now onto the chassis itself. Pretty much a carryover from the original FCX10. There's not going to be a lot of differences here. The inner fenders are made to mold to the Land Cruiser 80 series body, so those are different. The sliders appear to be exactly the same. The bumpers obviously are different, and the mounting system is different, but otherwise it is an FCX10. We've got a 32-turn 550 can brushed motor right up front here. All the packaging of the wiring and electronics is really nicely done. They did a good job on that. This is better than the original FCX10 for sure. We're using a 2-in-1 receiver ESC combo. This works just fine. It's got a good quality drag brake and seems to be functioning nominally, which nominal is good. Like I said, for this version of the FCX10, they've gotten rid of the lockable and unlockable diffs, so that's 2 servos you don't have to worry about. There's also no dig, so that's another servo you don't have to worry about. There is still only 1 micro servo for the shifting mechanism for the 2-speed transmission. And here's where I think they've had to make a compromise. And I haven't tested it outside yet. We're going to be doing that later today in this video, of course. But I think they've had to change the gearing quite dramatically in the transmission in order to compensate for the lack of reduction from the portal axle. Portal axle usually takes a 2-to-1 reduction, so getting rid of that right off the bat means they probably had to go to a much smaller pinion or a much smaller spur in order to make all of this work correctly. And we'll see what the speed is like on the trails, and keeping in mind, of course, we're not looking to go fast, but we are not looking to go super not fast. So there's going to be a fine balance there, and we'll see what that's like once we get outside. Steering servo is mounted on the axle, so we lose a little bit of realism there, but they do a pretty decent job of hiding it. It's not too bad there. I do like the look of the straight axle. It's really not much different from the FCX10 original portal axle, just missing the portals. Metal links everywhere, which is nice. Metal steering servo horn, also nice to see that. Metal bodied shocks with a plastic cap, which they still look pretty good. They're the dual spring setup there. I did find that these are moving quite slowly, so I have a feeling it's a pretty thick oil in there to compensate for the large body, because it is a fairly heavy body up front, so that doesn't really surprise me. Plastic drive shafts with metal ends and reasonably compact transmission unit, despite the fact that it does have a 2-speed in there. So there you go. That's a pretty decent first look at this vehicle. I'm pretty impressed just because this is a much simpler version. I love the new body mounting system. That is way better than what they were doing before. That was comically bad. Nice rigid chassis. There isn't much to report different on this model versus the FCX10 in terms of that. They do still have the options for mounting servos over here. I guess if you wanted to upgrade to all of those things, you probably could. There is an upgrade path, I'm sure, as this is the same chassis. So yeah, all in all, it's not a bad bit of kit, especially for what they're charging. And if you're interested in finding out more, there is a pre-order link in the description of this video where you can find out all the extra information you might want to know. So what's not to like? Well, there are a few things cosmetically that kind of bother me. It's minor stuff for sure, but this front inner fender is such a bizarre shape. In order to compensate for all of the steering, it really looks weird. It's a small thing probably for most of you, but for me, it's something that I cannot unsee. As one of my commenters said, the cringe is real. And they're not wrong. That is weird. I also hate turn signals, so that's another little cosmetic thing, but that's a super easy fix. I just wish that they had a functioning reverse light. That would be nice to see. Rather than just having the brake light go on, it should have reverse. Minor again, but still a thing. Additionally, I'm not a big fan of servo on axle. I kind of wish that they had gotten away from that and done a proper steering servo mounted on the chassis. Just for the sheer sake of the look of the truck, I think it would help an awful lot. But it is a minor thing again. Really, in terms of negatives, that's about it. I do feel, though, after getting a little bit of quick running on the bench here, that it is geared quite low. And I bet you if you put a bigger pinion in, you're going to melt your motor. I really feel like this is the exact same problem I had when I took any of the TRX4s and did the portal delete. You lose a lot of that reduction, which the motor and the transmission heavily rely on to make it a usable, reliable truck. So that might be something that this truck is going to suffer from a little bit. Hopefully it won't, and we'll see shortly on the trail. Otherwise, I think it's a pretty good second effort on the FCX10, and in fact, probably a better effort than the first one, because even in terms of the body, the original Blazer that they didn't look great. It was a bit smushed and kind of weird. This one looks a lot more proportional, and I'm a much bigger fan of Toyotas, so maybe that's clouding my judgment. More simple layout of the chassis is also a big plus for me. I just, I don't use all of that stuff. Despite the fact that I love scale accuracy, it's just not something that I think is totally necessary. And that's just me. You are entitled to your opinion, of course, and if you think that's better, buy that one. In addition to the truck and the radio, you also get a nicely detailed manual that explains all of the things about all of this stuff. Has a great set of exploded views, so if you broke a part, you'd be able to find out what part you needed, which is fantastic. It also has a lot of instructions about how to run stuff, what each of the functions does. There's also a sticker sheet, including some license plates. There's some Stay Wild, Night Race, racing equipment, colorful lifestyle. Yep, that's me. And nice set of license plates as well, all for the rear bumper, I think, because there's no duplicates. Or no, you get 2 sets of license plates, so you can decide if you want to be from Colorado, Texas, Nevada, Japan, or possibly China on there as well. Some very minor tools, and you also get that hat for the man, which that might come in handy. And then you also get a more adventurer / overland style bumper that can be mounted instead of the stock factory bumper. But I actually prefer the stock bumper on this one as opposed to this one. I don't think that yeah, I know it looks more adventure-y, but there's something just more classic about that look. So we'll probably stick with that one for now. But that's what you get. Not bad value. There will be links down below if you are interested in pre-ordering this model, and it eventually will become not a pre-order and just be able to buy it. And if you like following links, there is a link down below to the channel membership, where you get to see all sorts of tips and tricks, sneak previews, because I did share this with my private members before this actual release date, as well as behind the scenes videos, travel logs, and all sorts of other bonus content. So I hope you will check that out. And thank you, of course, to all my channel members for already being wonderful gold level ding-dongs and allowing me to have the opportunity to create more content to make this channel even better. Now that we've had enough time on the bench, let's take it outside and see how it does.
Welcome back to the woods. It's me, your friendly neighborhood woods guy. And we're out with the FCX10 from FMS. This is the Land Cruiser 80. And I gotta say, this is an interesting release from FMS because it's a much simpler version of the truck they just put out a little while ago, the FCX10 Blazer edition that had all of the features and everything. This is a much simplified truck, a much more simplified truck. It's got a 2-speed transmission, locked diffs, no portals, and nothing else. Very simple. But I like it. There's a few things I'm discovering after having about an hour with it so far on the trails. It's not as fast in first gear, and like not at all. Second gear certainly has a bit more speed, and you know, I'm not complaining. I don't need a lot of speed in a crawler or trail truck, or you know, whatever you want to call this. But it does feel not as quick. Like reverse is obviously diminished quite a bit here. Let's put it in second gear. So it's still, you know, has some get up and go, and I think they've, you know, sort of trimmed it so reverse isn't as strong. And it still roosts the dirt a little bit, but it's not, oddly not as fast as some of their other trucks are in that first or in that second gear. And that you know, that's fine, but you can tell that they had to throttle things a bit in terms of the gearing because this transmission was set up for portals, just like it was in the TRX4. And I know they're not exactly the same, but they're similar enough that you could argue the same sort of tech, the same sort of engineering applied. Everything seems to be shifting nicely. Everything's nice and smooth and quiet. It's a good driving truck. The shocks are definitely a little bit heavy weight oil, and you could get away with, you know, a lighter shock oil, I think, and probably would have a better damped experience because it definitely kind of bounces around a fair bit. But so far, you know, this is a nice trail truck. It works really, really well. I do prefer its simplified design. I'm not a big fan of all the complications. I just feel like it's stuff that's going to break. And I don't think you really need it. I get the challenge of, you know, shifting in and out of locked or unlocked diffs, or first gear, second gear, what have you. But I like this sort of more easy driving experience. Wow, it got very bright all of a sudden. It's a good looking truck. I don't mind the extra weight that all of the interior bits and hard plastic bits add to the truck. I think it adds to the kind of the driving dynamics. Certainly looks good on video. You know, like some trucks, they have that sort of really torqued up drivetrain. You can feel like it's going to climb over anything. This feels a little bit less than in that regard. I'm not hating, it's just a feeling I have. You can sort of feel these things out as you get more used to a truck. It looks great though. Jeez, I almost tripped right over that. That would have been bad. Watch where you're going, but also film the truck. It's not that easy, I must say, to do both, but I try my best and talk at the same time. The straight axles are good. Everything seems pretty robust, but like I said, it just doesn't feel as torquey as some other trucks I've driven. And, you know, again, I'm sure the primary focus here for FMS is less about rock crawling and more about a great trail experience. And I think we're certainly getting that. Like, I just feel like it's geared pretty low, and probably in an effort to save itself from wrecking things. if you're looking for something super capable on sort of like a rock crawling sort of situation, I don't think this is going to be the one for you without a lot of heavy modifying, including probably a different body entirely. It's just so heavy. It's a very heavy truck. It looks great because of that weight, but it's not going to be like a true rock crawling sort of performer. It does fine, but comp or anything scale comp related, I don't think this is going to be the one for that. But I don't think they're gearing it for that anyway. No pun intended on that, but I do think it's a really nice looking trail truck. It'd be interesting to see if we could increase performance a little bit, but it's not so bad that you would have a really terrible experience. All that said, for the price, it's a pretty reasonable truck. I like it. I think they should have released this one first and then gone with a more, complicated, they could call it like a pro model or whatever. But I'm not a marketing expert. What do I know? Anyway, is this something that you think you'll be picking up? Put a comment down below. You know I love reading through your feedback. I try to answer as many of those comments as I can. And of course, if you're enjoying this video and you like to see reviews of new trucks from all kinds of different manufacturers, hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you get updates anytime there's a new video from the Scale Builders Guild. This is fun. Great approach angle, wow. Will it make it all the way up? Whoa! Yes. Fantastic. All right. I think that's going to do it. Whee! Whee! Thank you so much to FMS for sending this my way so I could do this review. All right, that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again next time.